Dungeons & Dragons campaigns can span long and epic stories. Characters will walk entire nations, delve into mystical crypts, befriend strange people, and defeat monsters till, eventually, they take on godlike beings that threaten the world or its people in one way or another. That's not the golden standard of D&D, though. Sure, you've got all the long-term campaigns that feel like you're doing great and mighty things, but really a good lot of stories that come out of Dungeons & Dragons when you think shenanigans, you're talking about one-shots. I think that's one of those things I still have so little experience in, but I envy the people that get to run the one-shot experience over massive spanning campaigns. In campaigns, there are consequences that can span an entire character's career, whether it be from a bad die roll or just general poor choice in character. One-shots though, you don't need to concern yourself with that. You made up a character and have one, maybe 2 sessions to play them. Hell, many one-shots come with pre-generated characters, so you don't need to get all that attached to the character in the first place. I think that's one of the reasons that I've played so few one-shots is that the people I play with really get attached to their characters. So the next time I bring up the idea of playing a one-shot game, they slap down their character and talk about how they want to continue attempting to build their own Thieves Guild. Yes, Kelsey, I'm calling you out on that. I have 2 games I'm running at the moment, a weekly Curse of Strahd game, and the second a one-shot shenanigans campaign where each adventure isn't connected to the other, and characters are meant to be swapped out, allowing players to try out new classes, races, feats, and ideas. It's the same players for both games, and we play on Foundry Virtual Tabletop. An awesome program to be sure, but let me tell you, this past week, for the first time in a whole year, I was able to sit down around a table of people and play with fresh, brand new players, ones I've never talked to before, and a couple of friends that, while they're fond of the role-playing aspect, aren't keen on remembering the rules. And yes, this is me calling you out, Pinky. I got to DM a one-shot, Rise of the Pumpkin King, off of DM's Guild. Link to the adventure in the description below, but to sum it up, pumpkins of the town of Goldgrain, a simple farming community, have animated and been dragging people to the woods. Hunters would disappear at first, but since the disappearances, hunters stopped going into the forest. So the pumpkins started attacking the village proper. The party, sent by a larger group called the Brotherhood of the Lands, is tasked with finding the source and stopping this haunted invasion. From here on, there's going to be spoilers about this module, so you've been warned. You're like Seth Skorkowski when I say that. Anyways, the party was an Aragonasi wizard named Lulu, played by Sabian, that would flavor all their spells in a magical girl fashion, using summoned birds to cast their ray of frost or magic missile in the form of butterflies. Also, Lulu was a drag queen. A Tabaxi cleric of Twilight, played by one of the newbies, a Warforged cleric of something or other, I'm not sure what their domain was, played by Kiyoshi, a friend of one of Pinky's roommates, a Dragonborn Rune Knight fighter with an intelligence of 9 because hell yes, himbo, played by Katie, who is said roommate, and a Fairy Mindblade that wasn't sure how to play a rogue, played by my friend Pinky. Lulu was kind of the star of the show by the end, but, well, you'll see. Pretty standard start. Coming down the road, get to town, find its barren of people on the streets, and an overturned cart with 2 dead guards and a merchant who is playing dead being dragged away by haunted, uncarved pumpkins. The party intervenes, pulls a bullet with butterfly wings on the enemy, and the merchant stands up, offering payment for the party to help pull the cart of fabrics to the Hunter's Horn, the local inn run by a retired adventurer named Joyce. Turns out there might be a connection to the pumpkins being haunted because locals of Goldgrain had burned a local, until then peaceful, witch at the stake. The merchant figures that it might be a curse from the witch, though Joyce suggests checking out the local alchemist by the name of Dryleaf to say if they've got any opinions on the plant life come to, well, life. When they head to the alchemists, they see that the halfling alchemist's door is being torn down by a patch of pumpkins and is being dragged away. The party pulls a Tonight, saves Dryleaf, who Lulu dubbed Midnight Snack. After some talking and a looting of a journal from Dryleaf, they discover that Dryleaf was actually working on demon summoning on his own, stealing work from the witch, who he was at the time friends with. When all went bad, the demon possessed a pumpkin, and the demon dubbed itself the Pumpkin King. Dryleaf put the blame on the witch, and all was kinda well, except for the witch burning. So after knocking Dryleaf out and looking about, the party couldn't find anything about the exact location of the cave where Dryleaf conducted these experiments. So they tossed the unconscious Dryleaf out onto the street and wait for more pumpkins to come out and take him away while following them. Sure enough, after a while, the pumpkins come for Dryleaf and cart him away. After a couple of hours, he's brought to a large cave where it becomes apparent what the pumpkins have been doing. They've been taking the dead and carving themselves a hole into the chest cavity of the person, vines pushing about the bones of the limbs of the dead and taking control, not unlike a wicked-looking puppet. And 2 of these pumpkins had done so to a bear. By the way, huge shout out to the guy who modded and painted some minis for Adventurer, DingoX on Reddit, as well had made a layout of the final area of the cave, because the module doesn't explain too well or have any maps of the places or images of the creatures to print out for miniatures. But this mad lad went so far as to take a bear miniature and carved out the chest for the pumpkin. So, here's to you, DingoX, modder of the miniatures. DingoX, modder of the miniatures. Anyways, the party cherub rock the pumpkin bear and heads to the cave to find the Pumpkin King himself, a boisterous, though admittedly weaker demon in black full-plate armor with the head of the size of a massive pumpkin and a great sword about the size of said pumpkin. Still, it did have some cool abilities on him. If 2 of the party wasn't increased in size and the tabaxi didn't jump on Lulu's broom and the fairy wasn't, a fairy and could fly. Well, after Katie's Dragonborn slashes its head open, the demonic essence floats in the air and becomes the shape of a pumpkin, and then erupts in size. Huge size, at that. I used the art of the Pumpkin King of Ghosts from Yu-Gi-Oh! For this miniature, and it was massive. First round, it blasts an exploding seed breath in a massive cone that hits everyone, except the Warforged, till near death. It's a recharge of a roll of a 6. And it does 66 damage, so I'm thinking they could handle it. A bunch of damage here, some there. Lulu decides to take a bunch of torches and an alchemist's fire and improvise a larger bomb to attempt to do more damage. And then the Pumpkin King goes again, rolls to recharge. It was a 6. It's exploding seed breath time again. And then Lulu rolled a 1 on the save. She's only rocking maybe 4 health after the last fight and that last breath attack. So, as a quick note, this entire one-shot, I had been treating natural 1s on saving throws, the equivalent of the attacker's spell being a critical hit. The King of Pumpkin's breath does 66 fire damage, now doubled for poor Lulu, rolling a total of 42 damage. This exceeded their health by a solid 15 points or so. Instant death, vaporized on her broom, and it's made all the better by the fact that the Tabaxi cleric made the save, but then Lulu was holding the makeshift bomb, which detonated in the fiery breath and did more damage to her that knocked the cleric unconscious. And she was also 10 feet in the air on Lulu's broom, so the fall caused her to instantly fail a death saving throw. God, that poor cleric. So, from there, the Rune Knight gives the Pumpkin King the final 1979 as the Warforged seals the kitten. And, oh, yeah, the Pumpkin King's remains exploded in classic Hollywood party running away from the flames fashion. Party returns to Goldgrain, got paid, and it turns out maybe the Warforged is now possessed by the demon. Who knows? And Iris out. Admittedly, there were so many jokes and events in this adventure where multiple times we had to take breaks to calm down and stop laughing for a solid 15 plus minutes. If I included every single one of those, this video would be going on forever. The longest of which, though, was when Lulu died in that massive blaze of glory, explaining how she just poofed into so much glitter. I've honestly never really played with anyone that laughed at their own death in the game. Usually it's stress and tension, followed by the solemn, oh shit, followed by quiet and the entire party being depressed. There are sometimes the case of outrage and anger at "Oh, that was a bullshit call of a roll and you know it." Sure, but mostly the depression and the happy mood just being stabbed in the back a good 25 times. The entire party, though, was just laughing and busting aside at Lulu, just exploding on the broom as she did from just so much damage, including Sabian himself. Hells, they may have been laughing the hardest. Turns out that all of the other DMs that they had, Sabian never had a DM that was all that willing to kill characters. I'm not entirely sure why, and nor was Sabian. And as much as they enjoyed this character and their concept, they were simply having too much fun to worry about being blasted into oblivion like a Dragon Ball Z villain. If this was a campaign that's been like 20 plus sessions long and everyone was super close to one another's character, then I'd understand a solemn mood. One of the common things about the game a lot of players seem to forget is that, and Liam O'Brien put this the most succinctly.
Just so we're clear, everybody, this is a game! This is a game! Which camera's on me? This is a game!
I know that dying is a D&D equivalent of losing, and losing sucks, but you know that's part of the game. Shit, I think I just called out every D&D player ever with that one. Thank you very much for watching regardless. I don't have to tell you how it's been forever since I've done one of these, but honestly, that one shot I had was just so much fun and was definitely the players that made it so damned fantastic. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, you know the routine by now I think. I hope to see you guys in the next story. Take care. Cheers.